I'd like to welcome everyone to the Village of Northfield regular council meeting of April 11th, 2018. Shall I rise for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Niehaus,
Here.
Mr. Magistrelli,
Here.
Mr. Scher,
Here.
Ms. Domzalski, here. Mr. Hibbs is absent. Ms. Nowak, here. Mr. Wojtusz,
Here.
Mr. Bryan,
Here.
Mr. Wasaski,
Here.
Chief Zolgis,
Here.
Chief Bus will be at the next meeting. Mr. Walters will be at the next meeting. I'm present.
Can we get the approval of the minutes, please?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Nowak, seconded by Ms. Domzalski to approve the minutes. Any questions or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor of approval?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Minutes are approved, Mayor.
At this time, do you have anyone in the audience that would like to address either myself or council or department heads? Hearing none, moving on. We're going to deviate out of the norm a little bit here. Police department would like to put on someone today. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Where do you want to step forward? Raise your right hand. I, Courtney Marie Pratt,
I, Courtney Marie Pratt,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
and the statutes of the United States of America,
and the statutes of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of Ohio,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of Ohio,
and the charter and ordinances of the Village of Northfield,
and the charter and ordinances of the Village of Northfield,
County of Summit, Ohio,
County of Summit, Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge my duties as a part-time police officer
discharge my duties as a part-time police officer
for the Village of Northfield
for the Village of Northfield
during my continuance in said position
during my continuance in said position
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
Congratulations. Yeah, just real quick, if we could, Mayor, Council, Mayor. Anita Swenson would just like to present Paul with a T-shirt. She was one of the original donators for the K-9 program here. So, Anita, if you want to present it. Yeah, so, and we wanted Anita to get a chance to meet Sue also. She could put her name with a face of Paul. Thank you, Anita. Picture with Julie real quick. Anita?
I have only one question. Can we order those shirts?
You'd have to ask Anita.
Awesome.
That's,
Absolutely.
all right. And,
Already has.
just write it down for me, and then I'll give it to her.
Okay, John, are we ready to move on?
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Okay. Thank you, Anita.
Ms. Swenson, can I ask you a question? Have you thought about doing a fundraiser for the dog with those shirts? I love how that shirt looks. I'm serious. Maybe we could do a fundraiser with that.
Well, I got that shirt out of state a while ago,
Okay.
but because of my hip surgery and that, I didn't get a chance to come up when he was originally sworn in here. But I wanted to present him with the shirt and saying thank you very much for being a part of the community.
Thank you.
It's good seeing you.
Thank you again, Anita.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on. Reports of municipal officers. The mayor would like to report that I'm sure you've all seen in the news that the Hard Rock was bought by MGM. We don't know anything more about what's going on. We should know within the next 6 months to a year when everything's approved by the state. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed that everything goes through and everything is positive. Moving on to Finance Director, Ms. Ingracia.
I just have one item, I think. Yeah. So everybody got a book in their mailbox, all of council, from a representative from Sarka Financial. We have some police employees that wish to, they're not in a deferral at this moment. They wish to start new deferrals with Sarka Financial. And so next meeting, we're going to have legislation where you guys will all have to approve a new deferral for the village. Because right now we have Ohio Deferred Comp, VOIA, and we're going to hopefully, with your approval, add Sarka.
Gary, would you like to head that one off because your wages and working?
Sure.
Thanks. Is that complete report?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Moving on to the engineer, Mr. Wasowski.
The Ledge Road reconstruction, we had the pre-construction meeting on March 29th with Katz Construction. Notice to proceed was given on April 2nd. He has 210 days to finish the job. Katz presented a revised construction sequencing schedule to me. They will cut down the work by, they believe, at least 6 weeks. So I reviewed it, went over everything, and I'm in agreement to do that, just to stop the hassle of traffic for 6 weeks. But we had to flip the way we're doing the traffic from westbound to eastbound. It's going to work out better. And I talked to the school board before we did this, and the bus department over there, and they're all in favor of that. And we met with the principal of the school and so forth. We handed out flyers. Originally, they were going to start the job on the, I think the week after this, but then they decided that they were going to start the sewer work first. There's 8 hydrants that have to be relocated, and they decided they're going to try to get those in first before they start the sewer work and cut down the 2 big trees. Today they cut down the 1 tree on Lee, right, that 36-inch tree they cut down today. So they actually started work on April, I think it's the 5th, down at our treatment plant. I don't know if you've been down there. They regraded our treatment plant. They knocked down one of the brick buildings there for us. They did a really very nice job. They're going to store the excess dirt down there and store some materials during the project, and then at the end of it, clean up the whole area. Next week, they had the water department out, I think Monday, and the water department was going over all the work with them. And 2 of the hydrants, they found out we couldn't move the way we wanted to move because the way the connections are, they have to really take out the whole T, the whole connection, and put a new T in and everything. So they're ordering the parts for that. They figure they'll have everything here early next week to start doing all the hydrant work. And then right after that, they're going into the sewer work. And we passed out letters to everybody. Gave 500 letters to the school to give all the kids to come to their parents, and so all their parents know about the project too. So because we got 150 cars a day coming in with parents up there. The Ledge Road reconstruction, minority business supplies, they were all delivered. We're all on site, so that's all taken care of. Traffic counts on Houghton, Maple, Fire Station Drive, and Ledge Road. All the 12-hour counts were finished, tabularized, and the signal warrants and synchro analysis have been completed. All the signals are warranted, so we will be able to replace 3 of them, put up 1 new one. I'll have to get the state's final approval on that, but it meets the warrants. We shouldn't have any problem whatsoever on that. The State Route 8 and Ledge Road traffic signal upgrading project, we're finishing the final plans and design. Now, I want to bid that late this month. I need a motion from council tonight to bid that project. That's an issue one project. They're paying 50% of the construction on that.
Is that something you want to do right now, council?
Sure. I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Voitish. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I believe I told you last month that Union Metal, who used to supply almost all the poles in this area, is out of business. And I was just over in Solon this week for another pre-construction meeting on another job we had, and they use all Union Metal poles in Solon too. We're all looking for a new supplier for that. It's probably going to be Belmont. And we'll see how close they can get to the same design as we have out there. I think they're going to be fairly close, but it's not going to be exact. 2020 census update of addresses. I started looking at that, and what they want, basically, they want a verification of all the addresses that they have on their file in the U.S. Census in Washington are up to date. That we haven't added some new ones in there, which we have since 2010, and none of the houses have been torn down, so they can send out all the census forms to the people in the village. That has to be verified and signed off on. That I'm going to turn that over to either you, Tricia, or to Tiffany to do that work. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll turn that in. They give us a disc. The disc has to be either destroyed or sent back to them after the fact.
I think it's something we'll give to Tiffany.
Tiffany? Yeah. Okay, I'll give it to her. And I told Tiffany today, I called her up today, told her to get the addresses we have from the sewer billing, or Diane. So,
Or Lisa Rodriguez might be helpful too when she gets back to it.
yeah, so we had to check every street for all the addresses to make sure we're up to date on everything. And the only other thing, it's not on my report. They had the annual issue 1 general meeting for District 8, where the state comes up from Columbus. We went over any new procedures for this next year's grant applications, and there are some few changes, and especially in the scoring. The applications are due the first Friday of July. They're due. So if you want any projects, Mayor, tell me, because I have to get something ready for them. Yeah, okay. I'll just I'm holding off now on that totally. So yeah, and that's it. That's my report.
Thank you. Moving on to Law Director, Mr. Bryan.
Mayor, may I ask a question, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Wojtush.
Rich, on the 8 hydrants on Ledge Road that we're relocating, are we changing the distance hydrant to hydrant or distance from the street?
Distance from the distance from the street. The hydrants will be in the same location.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything for Rich? Hearing none, moving on to Law Director, Mr. Bryan.
All I have, Mayor, is I think, Mr. Magistrelli, we're going to need to schedule a council work session at some point to decide how we're going to go forward with the overlay district project, and I think we can wrap in the first 2 items of the legislation and discuss those further at the meeting. I don't think it's any immediate rush. I don't know if we want to wait till to hear from Mr. Hips as to when he's available before we schedule it, but sometime.
Mr. Bryan, I also had a discussion with Mr. Magistrelli. Another thing I think we want to add into that would be the signage legislation for Route 8. I don't know if, is that too big of a project to put in with that, Brad, or?
Well, we can talk about what we want to do, what council wants to do and how we might, what ideas we'd have to proceed with that also. So.
Because I think we also need to look at the temporary sign ordinance, the permanent sign ordinance, and we also are going to look at the car and truck rental establishments.
Right.
Is that correct, Mr. Magistrelli?
Yes, you know what, I'll get Mr. Hips' schedule. He is at, baby daddy training. So he said that it's kind of scheduled around our schedule. So I'll find out when he's got an open date, and then I'll let everybody know. I'll let the mayor know, and then I'll let everybody know. But he's,
I guess right now, is there
Take
any
care.
day that does not absolutely work for everyone here?
Next week, I'm tied up Wednesday and Thursday, and then the Monday the week after that.
okay.
I would be busy Tuesday and Friday, or Tuesday next week.
I mean, I don't know that it has to be next week, but it can be.
Well, just so he knows, so he can
Right.
get some dates together. Does that conclude your report, Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Council President?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'll get back with everyone when I get some dates. I'll put 2 or 3 dates together, because with work schedules and baby daddy training, it's going to be probably difficult.
Okay. Moving on.
He should be trained after tonight, right?
I don't know. No, he doesn't even know he's in for it yet.
Okay, we're moving on to department heads. John Zolgis, Police Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I'd like to add to my report is about the K-9 unit. It's going very well. We did have a glitch with the vehicle, but that's been straightened out. And in his first week, after he got sworn in, which was like the last week of, help me, March. He did make 2 stops. One of them, both of them, they found drugs on, and one was an illegal gun. And then they went down to Boston Heights and helped them out, but they weren't able to actually help them for what Boston Heights wanted to do. They wanted the K-9 to actually sniff some drugs, and that's not how the K-9 works. So he's going to get some use. So I just wanted to mention that. And we'll have more at the next meeting. Excuse me. I'd also like to, I already talked to the mayor about this. We're going to appear at Bark in the Park at Lock 3 in Akron, and I think it's May 12th. Paul's going to donate his time. I believe I'm going to donate my time. Well, I know I'll donate my time. And I think Courtney may go down there too. We're going to set up kind of a tent, I'm hoping, and pass out some stuff, maybe do child fingerprinting. I'm still trying to finalize that kind of stuff there. So that'll be May 12th, I believe. So that's all I have. Yeah.
Do you have an approximate time on that?
They do like a dog walk. It's kind of like a race, but you walk with your dogs. And it's to raise money for the Humane Society of Akron. I think it's 11 to 3
Okay.
is what it is, I believe. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, moving on. Jason Buss, Fire Chief, will be at our next regular scheduled council meeting. Jason Walters, Service Building Superintendent, will be at our next council meeting. Reports of municipal boards and commission. Planning Commission, Mr. Hips is not here. Does anyone have anything for Planning Commission? Rich?
No, there's just.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Slemmy.
Your mic. There you go.
Mr. Slemmy sent me a sample agreement for the stormwater management. All private development now that puts in the stormwater management that's required on the larger lots has to have a perpetual agreement for maintaining whatever they put in. And he's going to be putting in a retention or detention pond on his property down there by Meadow Lane. He will have to maintain that, or whoever buys the property from them, forever. And it's a legal agreement on that.
Plus, he has part of the agreement is stipulating what he has to put in there and the reports he has to file. He'll be filing reports now till the end of the earth on that property. I'll give it. I said I'd look over the general format of it to make sure it's okay. I briefly looked at it today when it was emailed to me. I'm going to read it over again tomorrow. But I'll give it to you, Brad, get your comments on it. So, but then he's going to make up a specific one. If the general one looks okay to us, he'll make up a specific one for that particular property, which you'll have to look at. Okay.
Thank you, Rich. Rich, do you know when he's going to be starting his building over there?
He's having a real problem with Ohio Edison. They will not. One of my comments was that we wanted a letter from Ohio Edison indicating that he can build underneath their easement. They have an easement over those big aerial towers are on an easement. They're high, very high electrical wiring. And there's restrictions on what you can do under those towers. And I told him, just give us a letter as a village, absolving us basically of any liability in this. If he does something there that's in violation, of what he's supposed to be doing with CEI, or it's Ohio Edison, he has not been able to get Ohio Edison do anything. And I told him to talk to you, Brad. Did he call you at all on this? Yeah. I told him to talk to Brad about it. I said,
Like a year ago he did.
yeah. Well, I talked to him about a month ago about it. He was very upset. He thinks we're holding him up as a village, and I said, no, we're not holding him at all. I gave him all my plan comments. Boy, it has to be probably 9 months ago, and I think his engineer fixed all the plan comments. And the only thing I think he has now is this stormwater thing, which he has to get approved by the county and Summit County Soil and Water, and the Ohio Edison agreement that he has to basically make sure that the village is covered and not liable for anything he does. See, if he gets his construction equipment, if he brings in a big crane, you don't have to touch those lines with that crane. That thing will, that's so much power in it, it'll arc right into that crane. It'll just barbecue somebody in that thing. So you have to be very careful, and then they don't let you put anything permanent in their easements. So they'll let you put some temporary stuff in, like a gravel driveway, but nothing permanent. They don't want to be digging out something if they have to go in there and do some work. So he's waiting for that, and he's very, very upset because he says Ohio Edison just won't do anything. They let you sit and won't approve or write a letter, and that's what he's claiming. And so I can't tell you, Mayor. It should have been built 2 years ago, basically, but yeah, I can't tell you when it's going to happen.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Moving on to Recreation Board. The Recreation Board did not meet. We didn't have a quorum. Our next meeting will be the first Thursday in May at 6:30 here at the Town Hall, and that's May 3rd. And again, we'll be discussing improvements that we can possibly do for the Easter egg hunt and Easter event, and then we'll talk about movie in the park. Okay, moving on to the reports of standing committees. Mr. Magistrelli of Finance.
Excuse me, no report today, Mr. Mayor. Our next finance meeting will be April 25th at 6:30. That's it.
Ms. Tomzalski of Roads and Public Works.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Health and Welfare, Mr. Scher.
No report.
Wages and Working Conditions, Mr. Voitush.
No report, Mayor.
Fire and Safety, Mrs. Nowak.
Yes, the only thing that I want to bring to the council and the mayor's attention is Chief Bus is planning on bringing to the next meeting that he's planning on wanting to purchase a piece of equipment for the fire department. It's some type of rescue equipment, and it's over $11,000. So he'll have more information about that he wants to have legislation put on for that. Thank you. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nowak. Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Hips is not here. Does anyone on that committee have anything? Hearing none, moving on. Legislation, Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2018-29, an emergency ordinance amending section 1280.08 of the zoning code relating to sign enforcement, and recommending we have at least a third reading on that piece of legislation. 2018-30, an emergency ordinance establishing section 1268.11 of the planning and zoning code relating to car or truck rental establishments on second reading this evening, and also recommending we have at least another reading on that piece of legislation. And then we have 2018-31, an emergency resolution authorizing certain amendments to the 2018 appropriation resolution and or transferring items already appropriated in that resolution on first reading this evening. And
this is a regular occurring, always budgeted pension payment for the police pension fund. So this was budgeted, it is a reoccurring.
I'd like to make a motion to skip the 3 readings.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Voitis, seconded by Ms. Domzowski. All in favor of the motion?
Yes. Yes.
All opposed? Is there a motion for passage?
Motion for passage.
Second.
Motion to pass made by Mr. Voitis, seconded by Ms. Nowak. Any discussion? All in favor of passage?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed? The resolution is adopted, and that's it for the legislation, Mayor.
At this time, is there any old business, new business, or announcements from anyone?
Mayor, I do have a couple of things.
Yes, Mr. Voitush.
Once again, with April being Autism Awareness Month, my family, as everyone well knows, my son has autism. And we have a couple of fundraisers coming up. The money will be donated through my son's walk team, Andrew's Heroes, to the Summit County Autism Society. On Tuesday, April 24th, we have a Chick-fil-A fundraiser where a portion of everything that's purchased will go towards that. We also have the week of April 21st to the 30th. We have a Five Below fundraiser, which a portion of the sales will go to that also. And on the 21st of April, we have our annual fundraiser, which is, we'll get a flyer out to anyone that would like one. It has a whole bunch of different vendors that will be there. It's a United Methodist Church. And from all 3 of these fundraisers, we usually raise between $3,000 and $5,000 to donate to the Autism Society. So if anybody wants to come out and support, we would highly appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything? Adjournment? Oh. Mrs. Shaw, would you like to kind of give a little spiel on yourself?
Good evening.
Please press the silver button.
Here.
There you go. You're on.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Christina Shaw. I currently reside in Stowe. I am currently running for the 27th State Central Committee woman seat on the Democratic Party. And currently I have been attending all the city council meetings in my district. I am currently a PC in Stowe and very involved with the Democratic Party. And I just wanted to come and introduce myself tonight. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything before we adjourn? Okay, do I have an adjournment?
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Motion made by Ms. Domzowski to adjourn, is seconded by Ms. Nowak. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All opposed? Adjourned at 8:06.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight.